If you've been trying to renegotiate your landfill gas contract and getting nowhere, it probably feels like you have no real options, but you do. And most of them, your landfill gas operator would rather you didn't know about. Your landfill gas operator has no commercial incentive to offer you the best deal. Every pound of additional rent or royalty the landfill gas operator gives you is a pound taken directly from their own income. That's why negotiations often stall. And that's why most landfill site owners are still being paid the same level of rent or royalties that they negotiated 20 years ago. I'm Travis Ben, co-founder at Lumify Energy. And after working inside one of the UK's leading renewable energy operators, I've seen exactly how landfill gas contracts are structured and where landfill site owners consistently lose out. In this video, I'll walk you through your options when a landfill gas contract ends, what actions I'd recommend and why, and the 6 steps you can take to regain control of your landfill gas project. Here's something most landfill site owners don't realize until it's almost too late. The closer a contract gets to expiry, the less leverage you have, which is exactly why the most successful transitions are usually planned long before the contract actually ends. Right now, the landfill gas operator has most of the control. You're tied into the contract, you can't bring in another operator, and you usually can't install anything that competes with the existing project. But that changes when the contract gets close to expiry, because at that point, the landfill gas operator knows that you'll be eager to know the true financial value of the landfill gas project. And it's rarely in the landfill gas operator's commercial interest for you to know this. The problem is, most landfill site owners never realize how much leverage they actually have at that moment. Why? Because they don't know what the landfill gas project is truly worth financially in today's market. Most landfill gas contracts were signed years ago when energy prices, gas prices, government incentives all looked completely different. The market has changed, but the contracts haven't. And landfill gas operators have very little reason to point that out to you. So what can you actually do when your contract is coming to an end? In reality, you have 2 main options and they lead to very different outcomes. I'll walk you through both options, explain the pros and cons of each, and I'll show you which option I'd usually recommend depending on your situation. The first option is to go to the market. That means approaching multiple landfill gas operators, letting them know that your contract is coming to an end and inviting them to put forward their best offer should they have the opportunity to run the landfill gas project that's on your land. This creates real competition, and that competition drives your income up. Most landfill site operators have only ever dealt with one landfill gas operator. They've never seen the rest of the market or know what they would be willing to pay for their project. Going to market gives you that knowledge, and it gives landfill gas operators a reason to offer you a rent or royalty that reflects the current market conditions. That's the step I'd often recommend first. It doesn't require you to learn how to run a landfill gas project yourself, and it doesn't add to your workload. And it typically unlocks significantly more income than maintaining the status quo that has resulted from having no competitive pressure for the past 20+ years. The second option is to bring the landfill gas project fully in-house, either running it yourself or subcontracting the day-to-day operations to a specialist contractor. That gives you the most control over the project and potentially the highest share of the income. But it comes with a learning curve. That is sourcing and maintaining landfill gas engines, managing environmental compliance, dealing with the grid operator, the energy regulator, and the environmental regulator. This is a technical operation and it takes time and experience to run well. And if running a landfill gas project isn't your primary business, which it isn't for most landfill owners, that's a significant additional responsibility on top of everything else you're already doing. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'll show you shortly that it absolutely can be done. But for most landfill owners, going to market is the more straightforward and lower risk option. Taking the project in-house is worth pursuing if going to market doesn't produce the right outcome for you, or if keeping full control of the project matters more than convenience. Whether you go to market or decide to bring the project in-house, 6 things need to be in place. Ideally, you should begin planning 12 to 18 months before your current contract expires, because leaving it too late limits your options and creates additional pressures. Before anything else, check if your landfill gas operator has the legal rights to extend your current contract automatically. Some contracts contain clauses that give the operator a further extension period. Some other contracts give the landfill gas operator security of tenure, making it critical for you to serve certain notices on a timely basis and by specific dates before the current contract ends. Once you've confirmed when the contract is ending, start the process at least 18 months before the expiry date. Everything else on the list of things to do takes time, and some items take longer than landfill site owners expect. Contact the environmental regulator, the Environment Agency in England, Natural Resources Wales, or the equivalent body in Scotland or Northern Ireland, and let them know that your landfill gas contract is ending and what you're planning to do next. You'll need your own environmental permits to keep the landfill gas project operating, either under your own management or through a new contractor. In most cases, you can vary your existing landfill permit to include electricity generation and flaring. That's often the most straightforward route. Don't rely on the outgoing landfill gas operator to transfer their permit to you. It's not in their commercial interest to do so, and in most cases, they won't. Go directly to the regulator and apply in your own name. It's a process they're familiar with, but do this at least 12 months before your current contract expires. As the landfill site owner, you're entitled to a grid connection from the date your contract ends. Contact your electricity network operator. Confirm when the current contract is ending. Explain that you intend to continue operating the landfill gas project and complete the application. There's no fee for this because the original grid connection was already paid for by the first operator. As long as no new connection infrastructure is required, which in most cases it won't be, since you're continuing the existing project, you can apply for a new connection agreement in your own name that's almost identical to the previous connection agreement. However, you must request a replacement connection agreement in good time before the contract ends. Selling electricity back to the grid is the default, but it isn't always the most profitable route. If there's a business nearby that requires reliable electricity, you may be able to supply them directly through a private wire arrangement. In the right circumstances, this can generate more income than selling the electricity via the national grid. That said, my advice is always to secure a grid connection first. It gives you a reliable backdrop for periods when no private buyer is available, or if a private wire arrangement doesn't work out. Once the grid connection agreement is in place, you can pursue both options and choose whichever option makes more sense from time to time. Renewable Obligation Certificates, or ROCs, currently provide up to 50% of the total income generated by a landfill gas project. It's one of the most significant income streams of any project. But right now, the right to receive that income stream currently sits with the outgoing operator. You need to apply to Ofgem to transfer the ROC accreditation into your own name. The ROC scheme is due to expire in March 2027 for most landfill gas projects in the UK. And whether a replacement scheme follows it is, at this point in time, uncertain. That might make it tempting to overlook the importance of transferring the ROC accreditation into your own name. But don't. Transferring the ROC accreditation into your own name costs nothing. But if a replacement subsidy is introduced after March 2027, the landfill site owners who already have accreditation will be the ones best positioned to reap the financial benefits from it. Landfill site owners who didn't transfer their ROC accreditation may find it difficult or impossible to do so at a later date and might leave significant money on the table. So my advice is to transfer it now. This step is too important to leave until later. Finally, check when the planning permission for your landfill gas project is due to expire. If this runs out before the landfill gas on your site has been fully depleted, you'll lose the right to continue operating the project, and it will cost you significant time and money. If an extension is needed, start the process early, alongside the other steps we've discussed. It's an easy step to overlook, but letting it lapse would completely undermine everything else you've achieved. Here is something else I want to talk about, because it catches a lot of landfill site owners off guard. All of the steps we've discussed so far, the environmental permit, the grid connection, the ROC accreditation, and the planning permission, can be completed without the cooperation of the outgoing landfill gas operator. The environmental regulator deals directly with you as the landfill site owner, and so does the electricity network operator and Ofgem. The outgoing operator is not a gatekeeper or an obstacle that can prevent you from transitioning the landfill gas project. In most cases, the landfill gas operator has no obligation to help you transition the project, unless you're one of a minority of landfill site operators who have this obligation specially written into their landfill gas contract, which is extremely rare. This can be one of the most costly assumptions that landfill site owners make. What makes this difficult is the level of coordination required. 6 separate steps across different regulators with a specific sequence of steps required, with strict deadlines for some steps. The steps themselves are manageable. Getting all of them done in the right order, within the right time frame, without missing something that delays everything else, now that's where the complexity sits. And that's where we've seen landfill site owners who try to manage it themselves without specialist support run into challenges. Not because the task is impossible, but because this requires experience that takes time to build. If your landfill gas contract is within 12 to 18 months of ending and you haven't completed the steps I've discussed, you're already behind where you should be. Your next move isn't to work through this list alone. It's to get a clear picture of where your landfill gas project stands and what needs to happen first. That's exactly what our advisory service does. We'll look at your particular situation and show you what the options are and put together a solid plan. It starts with a conversation, no contract, no commitment, and there's a link in the description below. Now, everything we've talked about raises an important question. If changing your landfill gas operator is possible, what does the process actually look like in practice? Because this is where many landfill site owners get stuck. Not on whether they can change the operator, but what really needs to happen to do it successfully. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through the steps on how to change your landfill gas operator, where landfill site owners go wrong, and the mistakes that can cost landfill site owners hundreds of thousands of pounds if they don't transition correctly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.